Happy Friday and welcome to Sit Call. Today we have two special guests. We have Major Peter Doyle, who is the Director of Human Performance Optimization at the 101st Airborne Division. Good morning, sir.
Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you. Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you. And our favorite returning guest, Captain Bobby Hawthorne. Nice to see you again, ma'am.
Hello there. Thanks for having me back as well.
And from our team here at the Valencia Medical Recruiting Station, we have Sergeant First Class Michelle Phillips.
Hi, good morning.
Sergeant First Class Michael Cube.
Morning.
And myself, Staff Sergeant Scott McMenemy. Sir, before we dive into all things H2F, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks for the invitation again, and welcome to everybody who's joining us. Like I said, I'm Major Doyle. I'm the Director of Human Performance here at the 101st, called the Division Physical Therapist, however you want to look at that. A little bit over 20 years of federal service, part of that in the reserves and part of that active duty. I started out active duty as an enlisted infantryman, and then after 2 enlistments, I actually joined the Air Guard and did some close air support stuff as a reservist, as a National Guard member, and then came back in for the Army Baylor's physical therapy program, where I've been fortunate to serve in MEDACs and in great units like the 173rd, the 101st, and in 10th Mountain, or in support of 10th Mountain as well. So a lot of just fun experience, a lot of experience with warfighters, and really excited about what we're talking today, which is the H2F initiatives and how they will be impacting the Army and our soldiers as they're coming into the Army.
Awesome. Sir, we really want to appreciate or let you know that we appreciate you being here with us today. With that, we'll add the disclaimer that some of what we're going to talk about today, though it is a program and it's well known and it's getting out there, some of it is at the opinion of the folks that are sitting on here today and kind of how they perceive it. So don't take this as gospel, but it's a great starting point to get things going. So with that, sir, can you kind of explain, because you have a unique perspective, because you've been in the warfighter role, and now I'm not saying as physical therapist that you're not, but in the trenches, can you kind of explain what the H2F is? We keep throwing around the acronyms, but can you kind of break it down and talk about what we are talking about specifically?
Absolutely. So holistic health and fitness it's a culture change in the military. That's what H2F stands for, and it encompasses multiple things like increasing access to performance providers at the BCT and also the combat brigade level. It also includes dining facility changes, increased money and healthier food. It includes the ACFT, so there'll be a change to 7-22. It'll become the H2F manual moving forward in 1 October. There'll also be an ATP associated with it. But it's really the Army looking at readiness and the ability to deploy and win and engage fights against our enemy, and how not being ready, how being injured and other issues take you away from the fight. At any given time, the Army's looking at about 10, 11% non-deployable, except in right now, we've increased dramatically to about 95% ready across FORCECOM, which is phenomenal. It's the best that we've been since I've been in the military. And a lot of that has to do with some of the culture shifts that have already taken place even before the full H2F rollout. And I'd say just soldiers focusing on the ACFT and more functional fitness across all of our formations has really reduced injuries, and it's been a great thing. We're not focused on just push-ups, sit-ups, run, very heavy cardio and road march type activities all in one plane. And now we're focused more on global fitness. So we have a stronger, faster, more injury protected soldier just by changing the culture from APFT to the ACFT. That's the major encompassing components of the H2F. What's exciting about it is going to be the manning changes that come forward. So it's gone back and forth, and it's not completely set in stone. This is going to be a battalion level initiative, and it looks like it's going to be a brigade level initiative. And it really comes down to money and manning. The Army is committed. It's given us all this equipment with ACFTs and gym in the boxes, which are like little mobile fitness centers where you can lift and climb ropes and do pull-ups. But it's also committed to giving us personnel across our major brigades. And there's different types of brigades. There's like Category 1 and Category 2, and then also National Guard and Reserve brigades. But for example, at the 101st, all of our brigades, so sustainment, CAD, and 1st through 3rd BCT, will get the full complement of manning and personnel, and then eventually, equipment, and eventually even facilities. But our DIVARTY element will not be getting that complement. That's the only major units within FORCECOM that will be getting H2F manning here at 101st, starting in FY22. It'll be rolled out over time. But then also a fifth group in the 160th of Fort Campbell will also be getting very similar additions to their staff. What's exciting about that is we will get some more physical therapists to the brigade. We'll basically be adding about 35 to 36 personnel between military and civilian that will be performance improvement. And it'll be a couple physical therapists, or a registered dietitian, an occupational therapist, and then the bulk of it will be strength and conditioning coaches and athletic trainers, and then a couple of management. It's super exciting to just get a better understanding. Right now, the division has 18,000 plus soldiers, and we have 4 physical therapists, 3 of them in the BCTs, and myself, who's almost completely an administrator, very little patient care. We're very reactive. We lean on our medics, we lean on our master fitness trainers, and we lean on our PAs and primary care providers to do a lot of the intervention, and it's usually post-injury. We're going to become much more active in engaging with soldiers at the brigade level and below with strength and conditioning coaches, and really setting them up for success and ensuring that they're prepared and ready, plus dietitian counseling, make sure that they're warriors in that direction. And then if they have an injury on or during PT at training events, there'll be athletic trainers who are right there at the point of injury and do some taping, do some bracing, and make mild changes to keep the soldier in the fight, and hopefully even keep them from seeing the rehab specialist or the primary care manager unless it's warranted. So a huge increase in our team, just exponential increase, going from 4 to each of these brigades having 36 people. So super exciting.
It's great movement going forward, of course, and it just shows the advances that Army medicine it prides itself in. That we know as being members of the team that's something that happens every single day, and research is always taking place. So with that in mind, and talking about the collaborative effort between the different professions, how does that look as opposed to clinical setting? Is there a tie-in between the two? What does that look like, that component?
Just interesting. We haven't been able to experience it firsthand. What we're relying on is some of these pilot programs that have been going on across the Army. A good example is at 10th Mountain. They've had a brigade that all the battalions were outfitted with these H2F teams. And it's a big mix where most of it is non-clinical time. It's engagements at the company level and below, really doing coaching and mentoring in teams. So you bring in the registered dietitian, the strength coaches, athletic trainers, and the physical therapists, and you really work on function, form, and any questions, any concerns that the team has. They build a workout program for that unit, and they also give them diet counseling. But then there's also going to be a small amount, which is clinical time, and that'll be heavily focused for the physical therapist, the registered dietitian, and the OTs. They'll be doing the bulk of that, a little bit with the athletic trainers as well. But my goal and what my understanding is that clinical time will be less than 50% for the provider types of physical therapists and the dietitians.
And that's super important for our potential applicants to know coming into it. You have folks in school and they think this is what physical therapy looks like, and this must be what it looks like in the Army. But I'll tell you, this is completely different than anything I think anybody would expect. So for those potential applicants, sir, ma'am, what kind of knowledge base do they need to be looking at now to grow their potential to become Army physical therapists? How can they make themselves competitive to ensure that they understand the framework and the true mission statement of where physical therapy is going?
So I'm actually going to let Bobby take this from the front end, and then I'll fill in some.
Perfect.
So I would say the biggest thing, kind of like you alluded to, is knowing more about the human performance optimization, the injury prevention piece, right? Mitigating those injuries from ever happening versus the reactive, just treating whatever injury walks in your door. So it's hard to say specifically you need this skill set, but I think an understanding of, mechanics, what good lifting mechanics, running mechanics, what those things look like, being able to, track, understand injury trends so that when you identify that as it's happening, you're able to kind of say, okay, well, this is what we need to do to intervene so that these injuries don't continue. So I would say, really just an understanding of what is contributing to the injury versus just being able to react to it.
Absolutely. And it really comes down to exposure and exposure early and often. And everybody who's going to apply for a medical program like physical therapy is going to have some observation hours. It's a requirement by Army Baylor and really any PT school or any school that your potential applicants will be looking at, because you can come to the Army through the Army Baylor program, or you can even come as in a direct session, an already licensed physical therapist and has gone to a different program. So getting exposure to sports programs, to get into gyms and work with strength and conditioning coaches, maybe even doing some observation with a sports or athletic team, and just seeing how they're treated and how they're managed in training and also during game time situations. You don't have to be an expert in it, but understanding movement and really being in tune to it. And then also realizing that once you're a physical therapist, prior to, it's a really good idea to get more exposure and more certifications in anything like strength and conditioning. There's tactical athlete, like TSAC certifications. Those things strengthen it. And once you're in the Army, the master fitness trainer courses and stuff like that, understanding becoming an ACFT grader and being certified by unit, that's the kind of stuff that really puts you in a good situation. And as a therapist in the Army, it's not all clinical time. And there's a huge expectation that you participate in training with the unit. So whether that be at PT or at the range, or even going forward to a CTC rotation like JRTC. Bobby can tell you she just returned from there, but she's an active member of the brigade staff, and she also does rotations out to soldiers as they're in the fight, and she would do that in combat or in a training situation. So it's understanding it's not all clinical, it's not evaluation and treatment, that's a big part of it, but also being a member of the staff and really looking at the training program and what the unit is doing, and then really also mentoring the other specialists that are in your program and letting them know, hey, this is what I can offer, and also what can I take from you? Help me understand movement a little better. And strength coaches, they're better than physical therapists in some senses at movement understanding, which is kind of a shame because we're supposed to be, as physical therapists, the movement experts, but we don't have the time and we don't have the exposure in an athletic environment like a strength conditioning coach had. So really leaning on those experts and bringing the team together is hugely important. And then also understanding that it is a team effort. It's not about you. You're not the greatest. It's about really building the team and enhancing soldier. At the end of the day, if readiness improves and our soldiers are more fit to fight and we're more deployable, we're winning regardless of what we're doing.
I think that's fantastic advice, honestly, from the both of you, because it's hard sometimes as recruiters because we're not in your field and we can't be in everybody's field. So we don't know what it takes to make that tick. So when we start talking about potential applicants and what can they do to be competitive, to stand out to the board, to get selected, especially when we're talking about direct accessions. You know, PT Baylor program, they have their own board and their own requirements, and it's similar, but it's different. It's very different. So how does one with no prior military background speak, if you will, for that interview component to be able to show this is my presence and this is my understanding?
You know, that is difficult. It's almost impossible. The language that we speak, just because so many acronyms and so many just like code words that civilians don't understand, it's impossible to get without exposure in the military. And even once you're in, and I know in your fields, you know it, you'll hear acronyms and you have an understanding for what it is, but you don't even know what it means necessarily. So I wouldn't worry about that up front for your applicants. I would be professional, I would be straightforward and open and honest with all my communication, but I wouldn't worry about understanding the Army or the military jargon, because that's only going to come with time. And even, I mean, I've been exposed to the military for over 20 years, and I'm constantly learning new things or find out that what I thought an acronym meant did not mean that at all. So don't worry about that. It is a part of grooming, but you will get it once you're in the field. So the main thing is be an expert at what you do. Get the exposure that's going to be beneficial for you, both clinical and an athletic or a sports type environment, and then make sure that you're getting phenomenal grades, because it's a very competitive program to get into or field to get into. And then do your GRE and get your certifications, and then have really strong recommendations from your supervisors and from other experts in the field.
So with these new positions, is this something that somebody new off the street, a physical therapist currently working or coming from the PT Baylor program, would they expect to go into one of these new H2F positions straight out the gate?
I would say yes. So it's not ideal to go straight into an H2F position and be kind of thrown to the wolves, because the Army, it really has a rank structure and how you interact as a brigade staff. A brand new captain or even a lieutenant who's coming to the Army is kind of at a disadvantage with dealing with the staff and dealing with soldiers. So ideally, we put them in the MTF and allow them to learn the military. But with the growth, I don't think that's realistic. We're going to throw you into the mix and working with soldiers right away. The good news is there's strength in numbers. That's always been the case in the Army, where some new accessions will get thrown directly into a brigade combat team and do it. But usually it's without any mentorship right there locally within the brigade, and they have to really lean on the MTF and their sister brigades for kind of mentorship. With this new program, you're going to have a senior physical therapist in your brigade who you can really lean on, and you have the registered dietitian and OT and a whole bunch of civilians and other military people who will help you grow. So it's not ideal. I think it would be best if you, like Bobby did. She was at MTF first for a short period of time. She showed her excellence, and we were able to pull her into the division. But that's not realistic. Odds are you probably will be going to a holistic health and fitness brigade team almost immediately upon entrance into the military. And that's good because we have the support structure there to take care of it.
Now, do either of you have any other tidbits or anything you'd like to kind of share or add in here before we kind of roll more close oriented, if you will?
So I will just say that as you come into the Army as a medical provider, it's really important to look the part of being a soldier. And we make a lot of judgments on providers or soldiers in general, just on how they look. So making sure that your fitness is first class, that your scores, you're always improving and trying to meet the maximal standards, because you are a movement expert and fitness is kind of the game that we play. So look the part. Additionally, be open to doing Army training. I think it's really important. It's been beneficial for me and also for Bobby that we have prior Army experience and that we have some of the badges and the tags that the Army looks on fondly. They don't really mean anything to our job of physical therapy, except that we understand what the soldiers have gone through, but it opens doors. And having that kind of stuff and being open to going to, for instance, if you're in the 101st, go to air assault school and getting that exposure, it makes you a better provider because the soldiers trust you more. So when you're a provider in the Army, make sure you're not just a provider. Be open to being an officer in the Army first and understanding soldiers. I would say it straight up is you are an officer first and then a provider. And if you don't understand that, really the Army is really not the best place for you, because you can be a provider for the military and an MTF as a civilian, and we need those people. But if you want to be an officer in the Army and then be a provider, you really have to get the Army game and understand how it works. And it's not everything, but it's very important to open up doors if you have that experience and that exposure while you're in the Army. You don't have to come with it. It's fine to come straight off the street. But once you constantly be striving to go to Army schools and constantly strive to look the part and look like a soldier and be physically fit. And that's hugely important, because readiness and fitness is what we sell as physical therapists.
Anything you want to add, ma'am?
My biggest thing would just be have a willingness to learn. When you come in, like he said, you're not going to have all of that knowledge. And I don't think anyone expects you to come in with that knowledge, especially as a direct accession, right? But as long as you ask questions and are willing to learn, I think that itself, someone is going to look at that, whether it's in your leadership, your soldiers, whatever, and they're going to respect that. So, there's plenty of knowledge to go around. Ask your peers, ask other people, and find out what you need to do to excel at your job.
So I'll just make a couple more plugs in that direction. I apologize, I'm hijacking you guys' your show. But being a lifelong learner is everything in any field, but specifically in the military and medical fields. You need to be a lifelong learner. And I'd take it a step further and just say that we offer the best in the military. You're going to get so many exposures to learning, so many opportunities to get certifications that you'd have to pay for out of pocket as a civilian, that the Army will provide for you, at least help you with. So we get huge advantages with that compared to our peers. If you look at physical therapists on the outside, very few of them are board certified. And I'd say the vast majority of captain and above in the military are actually board certified, whether it be sports or orthopedic certifications, which is great. And that's something you should be striving for. And the military really helps that, and it also encourages that. So that's a phenomenal thing that you can get. We have another thing I was going to plug. Oh, the change of scenery is phenomenal. You can get stale in a lot of jobs. And I've seen that with some of my civilian counterparts. They get into something and they don't want to give up their seniority and move. In the military, you maintain seniority and you get new exposure. You're probably going to start out as an H2F or an MTF, like a military treatment facility provider, but you will have all kinds of opportunities to serve with a different hat and different exposures in different parts of the country and the world. And it's fantastic. I've been all over the world. It's been great for me. It's been great for my family. It makes me a better person. It gives me a better understanding of how great our country is and how we look compared to other countries around the world, and just seeing the benefits of being here in the United States and also just being a military service member. So I love it. I can't say enough about it. I know it's an easy thing to sell for you as recruiters, given the world climate, but I'll leave you at that. So thank you again for your time.
So we'd also like to thank you both for being here with us this morning. And then this will wrap up another episode. Thank you to our viewers for tuning in with us live. And as always, we welcome your questions. You can comment below or on any of our other social media platforms. We hope everyone has a happy, healthy, and safe weekend. And we look forward to seeing you again next Friday at 10 a.m. here on Sick Call.